You know, in the super complex world of data privacy, there's this really powerful tool that lets organizations process data without always asking for your consent. It's called a legitimate interest. But, and this is a big but, using it means you have to crack a very specific code. Today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're breaking down the legitimate interest assessment.
Right, we've all been there. You're bombarded with consent pop-ups for every little thing. So it makes you wonder, is there a totally lawful way to process data without making someone tick a box every single time? Well, the answer is yes, and it all comes down to a concept called legitimate interests.
And this is where legitimate interests come into play. Under GDPR, it's a legal basis that allows for really essential processing. Think things like preventing fraud or keeping a network secure without needing explicit consent. But here's the critical catch. Your interests can never, ever unfairly outweigh the rights of the individual. And let's be super clear about this. You can't just slap the label legitimate interest on something and call it a day. This is not a loophole. It is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a real responsibility, and one that requires you to prove it.
And that proof? It comes in the form of a legitimate interest assessment, or what we call an LIA. The best way to think about it is like a mandatory three-part test you run on yourself. It's the framework that makes your claim to a legitimate interest actually justifiable, fair, and, most importantly, lawful.
So this LIA is built on a structured three-part test, and when you get it right, it gives you a really solid, defensible reason for your data processing. Let's dive in and break down each part.
The whole LIA stands on three pillars. First up is the purpose test, which basically asks, why are you even doing this? Second, there's the necessity test, which asks, do you really have to do it this way? And finally, the balancing test asks, is it fair? And here's the thing, you have to pass all three in that order. Okay, so let's kick things off with the purpose test. This is step one, and it's absolutely fundamental. You have to be able to clearly spell out your genuine, specific, and lawful reason for processing the data in the first place. And to pass this test, you've got to be really honest with yourself. What's your actual goal here, and is it even legal? Who's benefiting? Is it just you, or do your customers, or even society get something out of it? And this one's crucial. Would a regular person be surprised or upset to find out you're using their data like this? Specificity is everything here. You can't get away with vague justifications like, oh, it's for business improvement. That's going to fail this test for sure. You need something concrete, something you can defend, like to prevent fraudulent duplicate accounts, or to secure our network from bot attacks. See? That's a clear purpose. All right, so once you've nailed down your purpose, you run right into the necessity test. See, having a good goal isn't enough. You have to ask, is processing this specific data truly necessary to get that job done? This is really where ideas like data minimization and proportionality get put under the microscope. This is the point where you have to challenge your own assumptions. I mean, could you get the same result with way less data? What about using anonymized data? Are there other, less intrusive ways to do this? The whole point is to prove you're using the absolute bare minimum you need to achieve your stated purpose. A good rule of thumb is pretty simple. If the data doesn't directly help you with the purpose you defined back in step one, then you probably shouldn't be collecting it. This is all about fighting that urge to over-collect data just in case. Okay, the final step is the balancing test. And honestly, this is the most important one. This is the big ethical checkpoint where your business interests get weighed against an individual's rights. And let me tell you, this is where most of these assessments either succeed or fail. It's where the rubber meets the road. I want you to picture a scale. On one side, you put your legitimate interest. On the other side, you pile on the individual's rights, their freedoms, and what they would reasonably expect to happen with their data. For your LIA to be valid, that scale cannot tip unfairly against the individual. It's that simple.
So how do you actually weigh all this? Well, you have to look at the nature of the data. Is it sensitive stuff like health information? You have to assess the potential impact. Could this cause someone harm or distress? You have to consider who the data is about. Are there kids involved? And then you look at your own actions. Have you built in safeguards like encryption or made it super easy for people to opt out?
So passing all three tests is obviously essential, but there's one last crucial step. You've got to document everything. And this isn't just about good housekeeping. It's a core legal requirement to show that you're being accountable.
Your LIA document has to be a complete record of your thinking. It needs to detail exactly what you're doing, your answers for the purpose, necessity, and balancing tests, any steps you took to lower the risks, and of course, your final decision. This document is your proof that you did your homework.
So you might be wondering, is this whole framework just a European thing, or does it apply everywhere? And that's a great question, because the principles behind the LAI are definitely starting to pop up in privacy laws all over the world. While the formal LIA is a signature of GDPR, the core logic is pretty universal. Now, if you look at India's new DPDPA, it's not directly recognized right now. And over in California, they don't use the term, but their laws do allow for similar business purposes as long as you're really clear with consumers and give them an easy way to opt out.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's really important to understand what the LIA truly is. This is not just another piece of bureaucratic paperwork to fill out. It's a fundamental part of your entire compliance strategy.
Look, a well-done LIA does so much more than just keep you compliant. It's a massive tool for building trust with your customers. It forces you to get critical about your own data practices, which naturally reduces risk and seriously strengthens your company's whole ethical approach to data.
In the end, just think of the LIA as your shield. It protects your organization by making sure your data processing is defensible and lawful. And at the same time, it protects your customers by making sure their rights are always respected.
So, the next time your organization wants to lean on legitimate interests, I want you to pause and ask, is it truly justified? Run the tests, document your reasoning, and be ready to defend it. Because in the world of data privacy, justification isn't just important, it's everything.